This episode contains discussions of abusive relationships. Listen at your own discretion.
It is Saturday, the 23rd of November, 2024. My name is Pigeon Rose, and this is my song of the day. Today, we're continuing on the wonderful, depressing journey of talking about songs from the album Hospice by the Antlers. Last time we talked about Sylvia, and today we're talking about the song Atrophy. I think this song is how I learned the word atrophy. I mean, I'd probably heard it other places, like watching House and stuff, but this is what sticks in my head now is this song. If you can't tell, I still have a cold. My voice is still affected, so I apologize for how I sound in this episode. We can just pretend I'm getting choked up about the song. Not that I have to pretend too much, but if you don't remember, this is a concept album about a hospice worker who enters into an abusive relationship with a terminal patient, and the implication is that it's metaphorical for a real abusive relationship. The hospice and patient elements are not supposed to be taken literally. They're more kind of a metaphor for how this dynamic and situation kind of arises. And in the previous song, we saw the narrator kind of becoming scared of his partner and scared of what was happening with their relationship and all that. And so this episode is kind of a very deliberate follow-on from that, not just because after on the album, but it also feels like it's continuing those themes, you know? I don't think I need to give it much more of an intro. It's a longer one, so we should get into it. Let's go ahead and listen to it now, and then come back in a few minutes and talk about it. Doesn't that just freeze the cockles of your heart? So that's Atrophy by the Antlers. I love the way this song builds up and explodes and then goes quiet again for the ending. I know that's like a pretty typical structure, but I like the way this song does it a lot. I don't think we need to say much about it except for just going into the lyrics, because that's what's the strength of this album, apart from atmosphere, I suppose. So let's go ahead and talk about it. You've been living a while in the front of my skull making orders. You've been writing me rules, shrinking maps, and redrawing borders. I've been repeating your speeches, but the audience just doesn't follow, because I'm leaving out words, punctuation, and it sounds pretty hollow. I've been living in bed because now you tell me to sleep. I've been hiding my voice in my face, and you decide when I eat. In your dreams I'm a criminal, horrible, sleeping around. While you're awake I'm impossible, constantly letting you down. So the song is kind of elucidating the narrator's insecurities and talking about how the abusive partner is affecting his life. It's kind of like this relationship has taken control and he isn't in control of himself anymore. He's doing everything for the other person and not for his own free will, you know? So you've been living a while in the front of my skull making orders. You've been in my head telling me what to do. You've been writing me rules, shrinking maps, and redrawing borders, you know, moving the goalposts, constantly changing how things are supposed to be done, changing what's good and what isn't, you know? Just kind of implies the kind of gaslighting sort of techniques that happen of like, no, this was never okay, and things like that, right? I've been repeating your speeches, but the audience just doesn't follow because I'm leaving out words, punctuation, and it sounds pretty hollow. So he's talking about like other people trying to understand his relationship or ask him how he's doing, and he just like repeats her words back to them, but they don't understand because they're not in the context and they don't know her, and it just doesn't sound like his words, right? You know, it sounds very obviously fake or strange, you know, out of character. I've been living in bed because now you tell me to sleep. I've been hiding my voice in my face and you decide when I eat. Again, just total control over his life, control over his schedule, telling him when to sleep. Hiding my voice in my face refers back to Sylvia when he talks about, can't you see I'm scared to speak and I hate my voice because it only makes you angry. So he's talking about suppressing these parts of him because he knows it upsets her, even if it's just a normal part of his life, you know? You decide when I eat, it's affecting his living situation, his health, you know? I suppose I mentioned the title, but I didn't explain it. Atrophy is when something kind of wastes away. The definition on Genius is a reduction in the functionality of an organ caused by disease, injury, or lack of use. I always think of muscles, like your body tends to atrophy when you're in a coma because you're not getting exercise, you know? And so the atrophy here could be referring to his body physically atrophying here when we talk about him, you know, living in bed, sleeping occasionally, the other person deciding when he eats. It could be referring to his body physically wasting away, but it also could be referring to his personhood wasting away, his personality. He's atrophying. He's a shadow of himself, you know? In your dreams I'm a criminal, horrible, sleeping sleeping around. While you're awake, I'm impossible, constantly letting you down. So, like, the idea of, you know, she dreams about him doing bad stuff and is angry at him when he's awake for it, despite that not making any sense. And also, like, while you're awake, I'm impossible, constantly letting you down, just always, like, you can't win with her. Like, she's always upset about something, right? The second verse, little porcelain figurines, glass bullets you shoot at the wall, threats of castration for crimes you imagine when I miss your call. With the bite of the teeth of that ring on my finger, I'm bound to your bedside, your eulogy singer. I'd happily take all those bullets inside you and put them inside of myself. So this was always the part that got me when I was first listening to this album and first became obsessed with it, particularly that last line, but we'll get to that in a sec. Little porcelain figurines, glass bullets you shoot at the wall. She's throwing stuff, which again is mentioned in Sylvia as well. You can throw the thermometer right back at me if that's what you want to do, okay, right? So she's throwing these little porcelain figurines like they're glass bullets, right? Threats of castration for crimes you imagine when I miss your call. So again, the kind of like in your dreams I'm a criminal, right? She threatens to cut his nuts off when he misses her call. Like, she completely dominates his time, you know? She wants him to be at her beck and call, and when he's not, she threatens him, you know? With the bite of that teeth of the ring on my finger is such a telling line, right? The ring on the finger implies engagement or marriage, but it's the bite of the teeth of that ring on my finger. He can't remove it. It's bitten into him. He's stuck in this toxic situation. It's a very short but effective metaphor there. I'm bound to your bedside, your eulogy singer. He is stuck with her because he is the only person who will sing her eulogy. He's the only person who will care for her and remember her when she's gone, right? I'd happily take all those bullets inside you and put them inside of myself. I saw that line separately as a very sweet sentiment and kind of was obsessed with it in its own way, but within the context of the song, it's so deeply sad because he's talking about how he wants to take her trauma, her upset away and put it inside of himself, which, you know, again, in isolation is a very sweet thought, but he's talking about hurting himself so she won't be hurt. It's not actually a positive thing. It's a very misguided attempt at love, you know? And then we get the big long build up, and I love it so much. I love letting this song wash over me. I turned it up loud when I was listening to it just now for the episode because I love the way it builds up. It gets louder and louder, and then it's just like a wash of noise with no drums. You can hear like wind chimes and stuff. Like, it's just such a cool sound, an ethereal sound, you know? And then it goes back to just the acoustic guitar, and he sings, someone, oh anyone, tell me how to stop this. She's screaming, expiring, and I'm her only witness. I'm freezing, infected, and rigid in that room inside her. No one's gonna come as long as I lay still in bed beside her. And then you get the ooh. I'm not gonna try that at the right pitch with my sore throat, but so the melody here is reprised in a later song. We'll definitely talk about that because that's my favorite song of the album. But here he's saying, yeah, he's crying out for help. He's saying, someone, oh anyone, tell me how to stop this. She's screaming, expiring, and I'm her only witness. So again, that whole thing about being her eulogy singer, right? He's like, please show me a way out of this. Tell me how to stop this because she's screaming, she's upset, she's expiring, she's dying, and I'm her only witness. I'm the only one sticking by her. And when you take it out of the metaphor of the hospice worker and the patient, and you think about the idea of this person being the only person sticking with this dying patient in a real abusive relationship, it makes you think that, you know, this is someone who has alienated themselves from other people and they don't have any friends left, and that's why he's the only one there. And when you're in these kinds of relationships, you sometimes don't question that because the person, especially if they're like a narcissist or something, they make it about themselves. They say everyone's out to get me. It's not my fault they hate me. And then you start believing that as well. But then sometimes you'll realize, oh no, they're abusive and they've driven people away and I should have left as well, right? But he wants to stay because he's her only witness, right? It's this catch-22 you get stuck in abusive relationships, you know? And then I'm freezing, infected, and rigid in that room inside her. He's talking about how he's stuck in the same situation. He's hurt too because of her. And then no one's going to come as long as I lay still in bed beside her. No one's going to help me if I keep defending her, if I stay with her. The only person who can help me is me. I've kind of resolved myself to my own fate. I've made my bed and I'm lying in it with her. Such a deeply sad song, such a deeply sad progression to the story. I didn't realize, by the way, that I would be talking about this song, which I view as kind of a sequel to Sylvia, the day after I talk about Sylvia's mother. Very funny. Anyway, I think that's pretty much all I have to say about this one. I won't be talking about every song on this album, by the way, because there's 10 songs and I'm not arsed and I have other songs to talk about. So I'm probably going to skip Bear, as much as people like that one. I'm definitely going to skip 13. I'll probably talk about 2, Shiva, Wake, and Epilogue. Yeah, that's probably correct. I don't know when, but I do definitely want to talk about them. Anyway, that's pretty much going to be it for this one. Thank you so much for listening. Please hit like, hit subscribe, leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think. Tell other people about this show. Thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you tomorrow.
Break it down.